Hello YouTube, it's Time here with Hobbies and Man once again, and today we are doing another manga review. Today we are going to be reviewing Gyo, The Death Stench Creeps by Junji Ito. Now this is published by Viz, so you guys can see right there. I think this is not really a signature line. I don't actually know. I think this is just a special edition for Junji Ito. The demographic here is seinen, according to the lovely internet, and the genres here are horror, supernatural, and I would actually say this has an element of sci-fi to it. The reason why it happens is somewhat scientific, and this does have a movie adaptation. So if you don't want to bother reading this or paying the $23 for it, you could probably watch the movie online. It probably is on Funimation or something. I'm not really sure. And basically the general premise here is that walking fish attack Japan and then the world, and it turns into this apocalyptic situation. And that's really basically it. I don't know, it's not really complex. And as my introduction to Junji Ito, because I read this first, this is the first Junji Ito book I read, it showed me a few things. One, Junji Ito's storytelling isn't really the best. He excels at short story, kind of like small narrative, but he's not very good at planning out a large kind of time-spanning situation. The other thing that it showed me is that his artwork is immensely creepy and very well done, but he's not really a scary writer. Like, nothing about this story really kind of like scared me. More than anything, I was just kind of creeped out by it a little bit, and kind of just didn't want to think about fish. And that's basically it. So yeah, let's talk about the plot line here. The plot line is not really the most logical. I mean, we do get explanations about why things happened, but the things that or like the way the things are explained isn't really the best. Like, it doesn't really make too much sense. But I can ignore that more or less. I mean, it doesn't really need a clear reason. It's kind of like the horror equivalent of like B-tier action movies, like The Meg or something like that, where it's like, okay, this doesn't really make sense, but it doesn't need to. You just need a situation to occur so that there's a giant shark. More or less the same here. You just need a situation to occur so you have these walking fish. And it basically just deals with these fish that have these like spider legs walking out of the ocean and starting to attack people. And then the horror element kind of comes from the origins of where these animals come from and the developments that lead to the apocalypse. This kind of situation where like the things that were making the fish able to walk needed more energy, more fuel, and so they attach themselves to humans, leading to the apocalypse. Now, like I said, it's not a very complex story. It's not a as story by any means, but it's not like the best thing ever. It's pretty middle of the road. And yeah, the characters here are, there's four of them. The first one is Tadashi. He's the main male character, and Kaori, who is the main female character. And then there's Koyanagi and Yoshiyama. Now, Koyanagi is Tadashi's uncle, and Yoshiyama is his assistant, right? And she's a kind of very organized lady. And really, the kind of meaningful element of this story really comes from the relationship between Tadashi and Kaori, and kind of the creepy, shitty, like, oh my god, this is a shitty scientist kind of thing, comes from Koyanagi and Yoshiyama. And so it does have these kind of good elements here. The characterization between Tadashi and Kaori is interesting. Kaori initially is a very shitty person. She really comes off just like not great. But as the kind of story moves along and we get to see her kind of falling into this situation, Tadashi kind of helps us reconcile with her and kind of care for her a little bit. It's not the best. Kaori is still a really shitty person, but she's kind of interesting at least by the end of the story. Koyanagi is this very kind of general scientist that isn't really evil, but he's not really a good person either, because he doesn't care about morals, but rather just about the elevation of his science. And so he does things that are very not great. So, yeah. The characters here are not the greatest thing ever by any means, but they are pretty good. I did enjoy reading about them and learning about them, and kind of seeing them change as this apocalypse kind of kept going on. The world building here is interesting. It's real life Japan with some slightly kind of altered history here. Basically, during World War II, the Japanese government sanctioned these experiments in order to create bioweapons, which led to this creation of this bacteria that would infect hosts and then basically decompose them rapidly in order to fill them with gas. And then the development of these kind of walking machines that would attach to the bodies, right? And basically it comes back to haunt Japan, and it's not super logical because there's like conflicting reports or conflicting bits of information within the same kind of few pages, and so it's really not logical. Like, it doesn't really make sense, which I think is a negative. I mean, it doesn't really matter too much, right? But I think it's a negative because scary stories, at least in the minimal experience that I have, are better when they make more sense. When they become more realistic, they're scarier because, oh my god, this could actually happen, right? And I'm not saying that walking fish can be a thing that happens anytime soon, but I'm saying that if you, or that Junji Ito had taken the time to really make it make sense, and not have these conflicting logical fallacies between itself, it would have made it a lot scarier, right? And that's not to say this is a really scary story. If anything, it's just creepy. And to me, it actually creeped me out because of two things. There's really only two things that I'm afraid of. One of them is spiders or creepy crawlies in general, specifically like arachnids. They just creep me out. I don't know. It's just like, oh, right? Spiders, they move fast and you can barely see them, and they're big, and some of them are so, like, you know, powerful that they can kill bigger animals and stuff like that. Like, creepy, right? The other thing that bothers me is like the ocean, and not necessarily like water. Like, I don't really care. I can swim. It's not an issue of water. It's an issue of the depth of the ocean and the fact that there's so much of it and you're so small, and it's like the fear of the unknown, but the fear of the fact that you don't know what's under you more than anything, right? And the fact that this story combines both of those, because the walking machines that the fish have basically look like spider legs, and the fact that fish come out of the ocean is like a combination of my two kind of like fears. I don't necessarily think they're fears. Like, it's not like I'm paralyzed by them or anything like that. But they do bother me more than other things. It combines them and it makes them like the crux of the issue. Kind of really did creep me out a bit. It made me a little bit uncomfortable while I was reading it. But like, that was the point of the story, so it succeeded in what it was doing. So yeah. I think it would have been better if it was a lot more logical. It would have been much scarier, right? But yeah, art-wise, I think it's very, very good. It's very creepy, and some of the story elements that show up are very, very cool. Like, just this is insanely good. Like, Junji Ito really popped off with these shark things. Later on, it becomes a little even creepier, but I don't want to show that off because I think that, one, it's a little too grotesque for YouTube, and two, because it kind of ruins the surprise. But it's pretty good. I quite liked it. So yeah, very creepy art, very amazing art. I really did like it. In terms of fan service, there's really none because it doesn't really fit with the story. Like, this isn't like it doesn't make sense to have fan service, right? So there's none in this one. And yeah, rating wise, this is a 3 out of 5. This is not my favorite thing ever, but I did still enjoy it. I think I would read it again. Maybe not anytime soon, maybe in a year or so. But this is not necessarily something that I will buy on my own. Now, if I ever buy these, it'll be for two reasons. One, I really have some hankering to read them again, and I don't have them accessible to me through my roommate. or two, I find them at a very discounted price. Like if it's $22 for Gyo, if I got it for less than half, like 8 or 9, I would definitely buy it, but I would not buy it at full price, just because I didn't really enjoy it that much. But yeah, recommendations wise, I think that you should definitely buy it if you like this, or you should definitely read it if you like stuff like this. I think that it has a lot of stuff going for it, but it doesn't really kind of work for me because the execution of it was a little bit weak, because Junji Ito isn't really the best type of writer. He's really excels at drawing. I don't necessarily think he excels at writing. So yeah, in terms of similar titles, I don't really think that there's any besides stuff by Junji Ito. He is heavily inspired by Kazuo Mezzo, I think is what it says. Let me see. It says it back here in the back of his author's note. It says, I think it says that he's inspired by Kazuo Umezu, which is the guy that did Drifting Classroom, I think. So you probably would like that if you like Junji Ito's work. And that's basically it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought. And thank you guys very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. See you guys later.